early impressions so far, first couple days, and how your unit's doing?
Yeah, rough around the edges, as you'd expect. I mean, it's one thing to install on the board, right, and then try to do some walkthroughs, try to get them accustomed to it, see tape, but to go out there full speed to go against live bodies, motion shifts, trying to slow down their eyes, and get them to understand not just the defense, but understand the standard within the defense, right? And so these first 2 days have been about understanding how to push through adversity, how to rise up, when things don't go well. Everybody can be excited when a play is good, but trying to respond and bounce back when a play is not. So that's what the first couple of days have been. It'll be interesting, pads on Saturday to see what we really have. I mean, at the end of the day, especially defensively, you really have no idea until you put a helmet and shoulder pads on and you start striking and see who really wants it.
With Miles not out there, I mean, have any other leaders tried to emerge in the first couple of days? Or?
Yeah, I think that's early to tell right now, and I think that's going to be something that ebbs and flows really throughout spring ball. I think it might be a practice to practice thing. Probably who's the most confident in their job, because once you're confident in your job, then you feel like you can say something. If you feel like you're swimming or you're making mistakes or you're still just trying to get yourself lined up, it's hard to feel like you want to step out. So I think everybody's a little bit feeling their way. Hopefully when all the installs are in and things sort of pause, and we start just repping them over and over and over, would really like to hear some more vocalness from certain guys. And so, that's something that I think us as coaches are going to have to do right now early. We're going to have to be those voices. We're going to have to be the ones that push and prod, and set the standard. I do believe that there are men in that locker room that will take that charge and they'll take it personal. But right now, I think everybody's sort of just trying to figure out, okay, I want to do right, by my teammates, by doing my job right first.
What kind of hunger do you sense from these guys that they want to be challenged? They want to face that adversity?
Yeah, you do sense that. They don't right now truly understand what that entails. I think they're hungry, and everybody can be hungry to want greatness, but what it takes to be great, what it takes to be a champion, is really, really hard. And so you can sense that they want it. There's an urge. There's an eagerness to go do it. At times, they push through the hard. At times, maybe not so much. And we've got to learn how to stiffen that we don't break so easily. And so that's part of the process. Like, everybody wants it just to flip a switch and it's there. It's not. It's not going to be like that. And again, that's where us as coaches have to do a really good job of both prodding, urging, making sure the standard is set and is continually upheld, but at the same time encouraging, not being afraid to jump into the pit with them. So,
Who are some of the guys on defense that you feel like have a good base understanding of the scheme and just they're not swimming out there and they're kind of helping bring things along?
Yeah, I think I think Bryce Thornton has done a really nice job through the first couple of days. Just it looks like it's easy, the communication. Staying in sort of the back end. Obviously, Cam Dooley's been in this system, so it is just these installs are a little bit easier for him from a terminology standpoint. I think Aaron Childs has done a really nice job. Jaden Robinson I've been really, really pleased with J-Rob. And so those guys have done a nice job. Up front, I think, from just alignment front stunt, like, again, I think Bett's done a really nice job and is understanding there. So, but we'll see. Like, front, I just sort of weight on a little bit just because it's all about pads. Obviously, the game comes pretty easy to Jaden Woods. So, but no, it's that part's been good. But you can ask a lot of these questions next week after we put pads on Saturday, get another day of pads, and I'll be able to give you a much firmer answer of, okay, one, where we're at, two, okay, who likes the contact, who's going to deliver the blow, right, instead of accepting it. And as we talked about before, if we find guys that are turning it down, they will not be on the field.
Going back to the adversity thing, can you reference with the returning players, what happened last year here? Or being a new staff, is it kind of a clean slate? Everyone's treated the same?
Everything's a clean slate. Again, that whatever's happened in the past, and it don't matter if it's 20 years ago or last year, like that has no bearing on how I view the guys on that defense side of the football, or any baggage that they're carrying with them forward. Hey, listen, everybody got a clean slate, but like I told some guys as they were walking in, and we were going through January and we're going through February, fellas, you got a clean slate, but what you've done in January and what you've done in February is you've started to write on the slate. So like it's not don't claim that you're riding me hard because of something. I'm not riding you hard because of anything you did in the past. I'm riding you hard because of what I've seen in January and February. You're writing your own slate right now. So let's make that really clear. And so, again, understanding that demand is going to be demanded every day. I think that's, I don't know if it's new. I don't know. That's not neither here nor there. But they're learning, like, hey, listen, I can't be an all-star one day and then the next day, not show up with that same intensity, not show up with that same focus, not show up. Hey, listen, as soon as you show me that you can do it, then I'm going to expect that you can do it every single day. And that, we get to the point where the teammates demand that, we'll be in good shape.
Just having an intense coach like Gerald Chapman help with that. I mean, we saw him make the group redo a rep 4 times and was getting on to them today.
You win in this league up front. And so much how you win in the league in the trenches is a mentality. And, how you foster defensive lines and offensive lines in this league, will dictate how your season goes. And it's awesome watching Chat get after those guys, because it comes from a place of love, right? Like it can be like incredibly intense, but they also they understand where it's coming from. It's not just a guy with a whistle yelling and screaming just because he can. They know that he cares. They know how much time he puts in. They know that he wants the best out of them. And when we get the best out of that group, it's going to trickle all the way through.
A lot of praise heaped on Kanye Clark for what he's done in the weight room. How's he doing in the classroom, and how does that translate onto the field?
Yeah, it's, again, I think especially at that position, I think you need to wait for pads. There's going to be so much that star position has to do in terms of being able to trigger, in terms of being able to get off blocks. Like, hey, listen, can I set edges? Can I blitz? How is it going to look, when we get deeper into this package? So, again, I'll reserve judgment on that. But, again, been pleased with his progress up to this point.
Rusty Witt said that he thought that Lagonza Hayward might be the strongest DB in the SEC. I know you got to see that with the pads on, but what have been your early impressions on that and what he's shown in the weight room and what you can do with that defensively?
Yeah, I mean, he is a special athlete out there. The big thing for Gonza, and he knows it. Hey, listen, he got to put in the time to understand this defense. Back there, right now, there's just sort of a lot of floating, and it just goes see ball, hit ball. And that'll work. That'll get you 50-50, and it'll create some splash plays and some wild plays, right? But it could also create some, we can't use the word plays, right? And so we've got to be dialed in on the back end. Like the difference is, man, you can play firm, intense, aggressive, man, and you pop your gap as a D lineman. Very few people actually know. They're going to get on the backers for not making it right, or if it gets through, man, have the safeties get it down. You make a mistake on the back end, you rotate wrong, you don't put your eyes in the right spot, it's a touchdown. And it's a big one, really, really fast, and it's a momentum changer. And so you don't have a chance to be wrong back there. And so we demand those guys, you got to put in the time. And so he's got a chance to be a special player, but football's more than just running around, being super strong and athletic. You got to understand the scheme. You got to understand what an offense is doing to you.
Emmanuel being still pretty new to football, what's the next step for him, and what have you seen so far in spring camp?
Yeah, it's reps. I think a big thing for Emmanuel is reps, because it is there's a rawness component there. There was a couple plays over the last couple days that, it'll happen in the middle, and Chat and I'll just sort of look at each other, right? Like, okay, like we get it consistently. That's what it should look like. But again, he's got to learn how to use his length. God's gifted him with arms that could touch that camera over there. But he's got to understand how to use that. You play with bent arms, now he's nothing but me. So those are things that he's going to have to touch the fire. It's going to have to, and pads are going to help. You get physically in the trenches. You get gap scheme plays will start to show up on Saturday. It's been all zone, right? Just to try to keep bodies off the ground. Now all of a sudden you're going to get gap scheme pullers. Like, can you transition your eyes? Can you strike blocks? Can you convert on pass rush? Now we're going to get into some one-on-one pass rush. So those things will really start to show for those front guys. But just accumulated reps, he can't get enough.
How much does Greg's experience as a defensive coordinator maybe help alleviate your role a little bit?
It's huge. I mean, anytime that you can have somebody that sort of sat in that seat and understands, especially when you're talking about, doing it from an inside backer position, right? Like, and saying, man, like, it's starting to get heavy for those guys. And if, as you're coaching it, sometimes, if you're not in that position room every single day, and you're on the board and you're putting in defenses, you're doing this, you're doing that, you're like, oh man, it seems like they should be able to handle it. Well, just group them here, tell them it's just like this, such as, and all of a sudden, you need somebody that's that can say, woof, it's too much. It's starting to stack up. Can we hit pause? And somebody that's, been in that position before, like, you're like, okay, yeah, no big deal. Let's do that. And it's awesome to be able to bounce ideas off of. We've both come from similar-ish systems in some ways, but different in others. And so, and the nice thing about the whole defensive staff is that there's been a lot of different systems. And so we've been able to meld certain ideas, do things differently than maybe I have in the past, which is awesome. Like, I think Coach Summerall said it, right? Like, you've got to be willing to adapt and learn. If you get so stuck and stubborn in your ways, there are some non-negotiables, within the system, but I'm always willing to bend, to move, to whatever fits best for this group.
Back on the field again with Coach Summerall, after, a few years and seeing him in the role of a head coach now and how he's bouncing around all over the field.
Hey, you wouldn't guess that, like, I say you wouldn't guess that he's a head coach. I mean, it's the same guy. Like, listen, as soon as he hit feet on the grass, man, the hat can go backwards, the whistle can go out, he's going to be in the drills. Like, it doesn't matter what level he's at. He could be the water boy or he could be the head coach. Like, if when his feet hit the grass, I mean, it is on. And the intensity that he brings anytime he steps out or anytime he walks through the hallway, it elevates everybody around. And you can just feel it, like the intensity on the practice field on both sides of the ball is so heightened, so elevated. And you as a coach, like you have to stay on your toes. You have to stay engaged. And it's awesome. Like that's why we do it. Like that's why we coach, like to be out there and to be in the drills. And I jumped in and I was holding the bag for tackling drills, like letting the guys tackle me on the crash mat. Like that gives them extra juice. Like, oh yeah, I get to give it to coach, right? Like that, like. But that's our job, is finding ways to try to get the most out of these guys. And so coach brings it every single day.
What have your impressions been of LJ McCrae, not just learning the system and scheme, but also the fact that he didn't really get to play much last season and is getting his feet back under him?
I'm going to wait till we put pads on for the front guys. But I will say this. I have been pleasantly surprised with LJ. And the work that he put in the weight room in January and February, the commitment that he's made to try to change his body, to get stronger, to change his body comp, we're still in progress there. And Whit's going to get that every single day, all the way through summer, all the way to. But he's flashed out there. And that, like, if we can get him going, that's going to make us a much, much better football team.
Some guys use their playing careers, to motivate guys. I got to ask you about, you had 24 tackles in a game. And what went into that performance, and what do you remember about that game?
I think the Navy fullback tripped over me probably 22 times. Yeah. It was just one of those days, right? Like when you face the triple option and you're the inside backer, like you're going to end up having a lot of tackles. I probably got cut 2 times more than that. I remember going in, you know how kids are. Like you're a young kid. You're like, I went to my position coach and I say, hey, coach, I'll bet you a steak dinner I don't get cut 5 times. They are not getting to my legs. I've practiced for 2 weeks. We had a bye week. We had like a double bye week before Navy. You just brutal. And so, like, I was not going to get cut, right? And first snap of the game, goes to the outside. They're running the triple. Boom. Face hits first. Bang. Pop up. And then I go in and I'm making the tackle. I get cut and make a tackle on the same play. At the end of the first quarter, I'd been cut 5 times. And I went over to, and he was up in the box. And I went to the phone. I was like, oh, coach, you're safe, that steak. But it was a good game. It got us bowl eligible. And you just didn't know until they came and told you. You were just so worried about trying to win the ball game. We squeaked that one out at the end. But yeah, I try to keep all my highlights out of it. The guys don't need to see those. We need them watching athletic players.
How do you like the staff setup? Buster was talking about how he's basically like a walk-around coordinator at practices. You basically have the same luxury, and what does that do for you as a play caller?
It does. It gives you, so much more time to watch tape. It gives you the ability to bounce from position group to position group. I try to be very cognizant of trying to stay out of, position coaches' drill work or overstepping. I'll jump in. I'll be a dummy. I'll do whatever. Hey, if there's something that, maybe I'd like to see tweaked, we'll talk about it after. But, like, their group is their group. They are the masters of their world, and I want it to be that way. I want those players to understand that those guys, those coaches were brought in for a reason. They know that position, and then if there's anything that needs to be altered, we'll do it as a staff, or we can do it in a one-on-one setting. But it is nice to be able to. Now it is hard sometimes. Like it's hard not to have a position at times, like to be. So I run the unit meetings, right? Obviously, and so I try to be respectful again of the position coach's time. You could see him in the back, like, come on, coach, we need to get to position meetings, But that gets to be my time with the guys. So I try to take as much as I can.